The scientific method. First, in the scientific method, you need to come up with your question or your problem. Your question or your problem is the first step you need to think about in order to start your experiment. It is what you want to know or find out. For example, will a rock sink or float when we put it in a bucket of water? Your next step is your hypothesis. You need to form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess. It is what you think is going to happen once you do your experiment. For example, I think the rock will not float when we put it in the bucket of water. Or your hypothesis could be, I think the rock will float when we put it in the bucket of water. Next, you need to write down your materials. Your materials are the objects or anything you are going to need in order to do your experiment. For example, our experiment, we need water, a bucket, and a rock. Without your materials, it is impossible to do your experiment. Now we have our procedure. In order to do your experiment, a good scientist needs to write down their steps. They need to be clear, that way you can go back and do the experiment a second time if you need to. Also, if someone else wants to do your experiment, they need to be able to do it by reading your procedure. For example, number 1, fill the bucket with water. Number 2, put the rock in the bucket of water. Number 3, watch to see if the rock floats or sinks. Number 4, record results. Now go ahead and do your experiment and see what happens. Now that you've done your experiment, you can write out what happened. These are called your results. Your results should say exactly what you saw. For example, after I did my experiment, I would write down, the rock sank when it was dropped into the bucket of water. It did not float. Last, in the scientific method, we have our conclusion. Your conclusion is your last part of your experiment. This is where you say if your hypothesis was correct or incorrect. For example, my hypothesis was correct. The rock did sink when it was dropped into the bucket of water. It did not float. Now go ahead and try and create your own experiment using the scientific method. You can do it, future scientists. Science rocks.